Hello, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors, and I'm back to show you today on how to paint some skies. I'm going to do two skies today, and I'm going to show you how I use a graded wash to do that. And then I'll add some little special touches to make a little small painting out of each one of those. So let's go over to my drawing table and I'll show you how I'm setting up. This is a 140-pound quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper. And I use some frog tape here to divide the paper because I'm going to do two scenes here. And on my palette, you can see I've got a cool dominant sky, and I've got the ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, and cerulean blue. And then I'm going to do a sunrise sky, which is going to have warm colors. And I'll go through both of these to show you how I do a graded wash. Okay, the first thing I do is I'm gonna I got my board tilted slightly so the water will run from top to bottom a little bit, and I'm not gonna wet this right away. I'm gonna start with ultramarine blue, which is a dark blue at the top. And this is the 3/4 inch natural hair brush, which holds lots of paint, and I can do lots of quick brush strokes. Now I'm going to pick up the cobalt blue. As I come down from top to bottom, I'm going to go from dark to light. This gives me a gradual graded wash. And this is a symbol for skies and also a symbol for water and even land. You go from dark to light, and this gives you the impression of depth and dimension. And I'll stop down here with, leave a little white paper at the bottom. That's when I'm going to add a little bit of interest here. And I look that over and I say, while it's still wet, I can put a little more color in there. The thing about watercolor is, as long as you keep the paper constant moisture, then you won't have any blossoms or runbacks, they call it, which would make your wash look a little bit messy, but there's ways of cleaning it up also. Okay, then I'll let that set and dry. Now wash out my brush and make sure I get the cool colors out of the way, because I'll be working with warm colors. I don't want them to mix. Take my sponge and wipe up the cool colors. Now over here with a clean brush, and what I always do is I rinse it out, and I'll take a tissue and I'll make sure there's no color in that brush. Okay, make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, now here on this other sheet on the left, and I'll move it over so you can see, you'll be able to see enough of it. I'm going to paint a sunset sky, and I'm going to start with the lightest color. In this case it's yellow lemon in my palette, and I'm going to start at just above the horizon line, and I'm going to leave a little gap of white here because as for sunset, I want a little bit of white paper to highlight that sun as it comes down near the water. So my first color that I introduce is the lemon yellow. Wash out my brush. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of orange, and I'm going, again, I didn't wet the paper. I didn't do it. This is a wet on dry technique right now. I could do it other ways, but this is wet on dry paper, because I want to get the color on the paper, and then I'll do a blend as I come across that other color, and then they'll mingle and blend together very nicely. Rinse out the brush. As I change colors, I rinse out the brush, pick up a new color. Because in this case, I'm going to use permanent red from my palette. And red is very strong and very powerful, so it doesn't take much to go a long way. But again, doing wet on dry paper. I go above, then I come down, do little crisscross strokes, and let it merge and blend. Okay. Then the last one, now I got the quinacridone violet, and maybe with a touch of ultramarine blue. That'll give me a nice dark color, purple or violet at the top. So again, even in a sunset sky, I'm going to have a graded wash. It's going to be darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. And again, I'll put that dark color in first, and then I crisscross with the color below, in this case the violet mixed in with the red. Okay. Now I may at this stage to make it flow a little better, I may just sprinkle a little bit of water on there, and then I'm going to tilt the paper down and let that wash run a little better. That way you're guaranteed of a gradual gradated wash. Then you watch that water run. So by tilting the paper up or down, you get the flow of the pigment on the paper. And you notice, like in all skies, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to have the impression of that sunset. So I'm going to let it stop right there. I've done two graded washes, one with the blue cool color and one with the warm colors. Let's do a little bit of review. I'll take you over to my painting table. If you recall, the first painting I did was a graded wash. I used ultramarine blue at the very top, a darker blue, then I used cobalt blue coming down, and then cerulean blue at the bottom. And you can see there's a dark to light value change in the sky. And this is a nice graded wash to have for a sky. Let's get you started. And right next to that, what I did, remember I had some tape across the center to keep the painting separate. And then I did a sunset version of the sky. And here I started with a light color lemon yellow at the bottom. Left a little white there for a little sunset. Then I added some orange and then some red. And then actually quinacridone violet and some little cobalt blue at the top. Again, this is a graded wash going from a dark warm color down to a light warm color. So you have two scenes here. You have a cool scene, cool dominant scene with the blue, and you have a warm colored scene with the warm colors, yellow, oranges, and reds. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add some things to this to make this a little more, and turn it actually into a little small painting. Now, first thing I do is mix up some colors. Over here on the right is the cool color dominant painting. And what I'm going to do is just add some little features here. For example, I can add back in the skyline. And what I do is I always have a little piece of practice paper over here so I know exactly where I'm going as far as the color. I'm practicing how dark I want to make that. So add a little more water, because I want this to be, and down here about a third of the way down, I'm going to put in a little mountain range way in the background, way back, with a light color value. I mixed a little bit of cobalt blue and when put a little quinacridone violet into it, give a little warmth, a little color, Then I'll come down and then I'll switch colors. I want to, at the foot of the mountains, I'll mix up a little bit of Hooker's green with a little bit of blue added to that. I don't want to go green too soon, so I'll add a little blue to that. And I'll check my color and check the value. Okay. And then I'll come down here and I'll leave a little white space or a little dry space in between those two layers. That one's still wet up there at the top. And I'll come down with a little value change, a little darker value. And maybe I'll put a more blue back into that. And then what I'm building is just a simple little scene here with just some colors. Some color changes, some value changes coming forward in the painting. Maybe I'll get a little darker here on the side because we're coming a little closer. Now, sometimes here's a little thing I do sometimes. If I see one side a little dark, what I'll take a tissue and I'll just blot some of that to lighten it up. That lightens up that area so it doesn't become too dark. So just a little pointer there. Now down the middle here, I'm going to simulate maybe a little river or river coming down from the mountain. And then as we get down, I'm using a 3/4 inch brush. I don't need a small brush for this. Just use the size of the brush to give me the action lines that I want. So I'm going to make just a little river with maybe a waterfall. Then I'll pick up I got a little bit of burnt sienna and mix it in with a little bit of that cobalt blue. And I can put some rocks over here on the side. So I'm really just making a little scene out of this blue sky picture. And I'm just dropping in some color. This is a little darker because we're closer to this. Okay. And I'm just demonstrating here, just quickly adding in some features here for make it into a small scene. And it might be a rock or two inside the waterfall where it comes crashing down. Okay. I don't want those rocks to be straight across, so I'm going to vary the ups and downs of that. Okay. And in here, maybe in the middle ground, I call it the middle ground here, I could add a little bit of color back there to show maybe it's a open field or with some grass or something coming down. And again, just adding some things. And you can play with this. If you had a design of something, you could add in almost anything you wanted. This just gives you an example. Okay, now let me show you on my close-up. I did one here with a little more time. There, I took a little more time to do this one, but I added in the same features. I added in a background row of mountains, some trees, and then a stream coming down, and then a waterfall with some rocks on the side. So I just quickly showed a demo, but here I will show you a little more detail. And you can spend as much time as you wanted on this, but this takes that simple sky showing the gradation of the colors and then make a little scene out of it. And I could make this into anything else, but I thought it'd be interesting just to show you a little bit of features you can do. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'll cover this side up here and bring this over. Okay, now I have a sunset. So this is a different situation now. Okay, different situation. The colors are going to be the same, but I want to add something a little more interesting here at the bottom. I got a sunset. So what I'm going to do is I've got mixed up my colors. I'm going to put in the water. So I need a little darker color at the horizon line. I'll define that horizon. As I come across, though, I'm going to remind myself that I've got a reflection from the sun coming in. So I'm going to leave some white showing to indicate the sunset and the reflection on the water. And I think that makes an interesting effect. I've always enjoyed painting water scenes, sunset scenes. This is something I like to do. Sunrise scenes also. Just anything with the sunlight coming down with an interesting effect. As I come down, I'm going to get a little darker colors. Add a little more a little red to that mix as I come down. And I'm just showing you quickly here what you can do with this sort of painting. As I come down, and as I come forward, I'll get a little darker. I'll mix in a little quinacridone violet in with that red as I come forward. Just the reflection on the water is the same colors in the sky. In other words, as you come forward now, it gets darker as you come forward, like it came darker in the sky. You gotta replicate that color. And I'll finish this off quickly here on the side. Now, what I want to do now is add another feature, and I'll add a landmass, a little island showing over here, and I can just pick up a little bit of burnt sienna, maybe some orange mixed in with that, and it'll be a landmass. Look like some trees up there, and as I get closer, it gets a little taller. And as I come forward, there'll be a beach maybe showing up. It'll get a little darker as I come forward. Pick up a little more of that quinacridone violet, maybe a little bit of cobalt blue to darken it up. I'm working a little bit almost on wet here with that first color I put down, so I may go back and fix this up when it dries a little bit more. But I just want to get some color down here to start out with. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is add some interest to this scene. And I'll get this a little darker in the foreground. And right now it's blending with the other color, but that's not a problem. So I'm going to mix up a little darker color, a little bit of burnt sienna, maybe a touch of cobalt in there. Not too dark. Don't want to get too dark, but you want a darker than what's there. Now I've got, this is wet down here, so what I can do here, again, I'll take that tissue and I'll roll it up into a thin, and I'll make myself a little pathway there that I can put some color in. It won't bleed like that, okay? Took up some of that color. Because I'm gonna put a, believe it or not, I'm gonna put a tree in here. Now this will really bring this painting alive by adding another feature in here. And then now with this kind of a brush, I'm using a natural hair, and what I can do is I actually can separate the bristles by pressing down into it. It doesn't hurt the brush, but it does allow me to do some special techniques here. For example, this could be a palm tree, and what I want to do is put that. And over here, before I start though, I come over to my paper and I practice the brush strokes. And you want to do that if you want to do something you haven't done before, like say a palm tree, which has fronds and it has separation of the leaves and so forth. You need to practice that technique a little bit before you actually go to your painting. So I worked it out pretty well, maybe a little bit darker. And I also checked the value of your color that way. Need to be a little bit darker. And I'll come up and actually do the and do another one down this way. And if you practice this, you can get quite good at this with practice, different brush strokes and so forth. And again, this natural hair brush, I can separate the hairs so I get a nice rough looking texture. And I'll do one more here. And I'll show you one I've done completely so you can get a better idea what it looks like at the end. Do one more over here. A couple little branches. Okay. And what I normally would do in this also, take some darker color. And I can just, because this was wet when I painted this second coat on here, it started to blend with that first wash of the water, so I'm going to darken it up just a little bit. And I'll put some foliage down here in the foreground. Give it some more. Again, I'm putting more interest into this little painting, just to show you things. I mean, a little technique down here of just putting in some foliage, some weeds or grass or something growing up here. And then I'll, as a little touch that might even make it even better, is load up my brush. Now you can see I flatten out this natural hair, and those bristles go right back together again. A nice smooth surface. And I load up the brush with color, and I can use the corner, and I can come on here and just do a nice little design here, maybe of a little sailboat in the background, and a little. Never put one by itself. You put a little partner out there with him. Another sailboat right by him. Oh. Okay, now let me show you on the close-up a little bit of one I had done with a little more time. You can see that I added in the darker colors, reflection off the water, and the tree I put a little more, again, some more darks in there. The sky. But you can see how that sets off that sunset sky. You have the dark at the top, and it comes down, a warmer color comes down into a lighter warm color all the way down to the horizon. Then you have reflection off the water, and then you have something interesting to look at. You have a tree to look at and some boats on the water with a reflection. It makes it into a nice painting. Well, that concludes my demonstration today of the graded wash for a cool color and a warm color sky. And by adding in some of those details that I showed, you make it into an interesting painting. I think it turned out really good. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration today. Be sure to remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be informed of my next videos and any future events I have. Also, I'll be giving some classes down the road, and so if you're signed up for YouTube, you'll get information about that also. So I'm signing off for now. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.